Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going where few have dared to go before, into a world where AI isn't just about making our lives easier, it's about potentially saving them.
It's an exciting and rapidly evolving frontier. We're seeing AI being used in ways that could only be imagined a few years ago.
It's incredible, right? And to help us navigate this new territory, we're looking at some insights from Haptic.o, a company that's all about connecting businesses with cutting-edge tech. Their latest article really caught our eye, especially their take on AI revolutionizing crisis management. They're basically saying AI is becoming this super powered emergency responder, predicting things like hurricanes and wildfires even before they get really bad.
Absolutely. It's like having a high-tech crystal ball, but instead of vague predictions, we're talking about AI giving concrete, actionable insights.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing a hurricane is coming, but more like knowing exactly where it's going to hit and how bad it's going to be.
Precisely. AI can analyze tons of data, things like weather patterns in real time, satellite imagery, you name it, and even social media activity to understand things like the potential path and intensity of a hurricane. And with that level of accuracy, we're talking about making really smart decisions about things like evacuations and resource allocation. We could even use it to figure out how to make buildings stronger in areas that might be hit hardest.
So it's about being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Instead of just reacting to a crisis, we're using AI to get ahead of the curve, and that can make a world of difference.
That's incredible. But it's not just about hurricanes, right? I mean, this technology seems like it could be used for all sorts of disasters. What about wildfires? Those seem to be getting worse every year.
You're absolutely right. Think about an AI system that's constantly analyzing things like wind speed, humidity, how dry the vegetation is, all those factors that contribute to wildfires. We could potentially position firefighters and equipment before a fire even starts, which would drastically cut down response time and limit the damage.
That's a game changer. So it sounds like this technology isn't limited to natural disasters either. I mean, the article even mentioned AI's potential in things like pandemics.
Absolutely. The beauty of AI is its versatility. We saw how useful it could be during the early stages of the pandemic, tracking the virus's spread and even helping to optimize those really important medical supply chains.
Now that you mention it, I remember reading about that. Didn't they use AI to analyze data from places like social media posts and news reports to identify potential outbreaks early on?
Exactly. By analyzing data from all sorts of sources, AI could spot patterns and trends that humans might miss, giving authorities a head start on things like resource allocation and public health measures.
It's incredible to see how this technology is evolving, but this all sounds pretty futuristic, to be honest. Are we really at the point where AI is going into the field, like as actual first responders? I mean, the article mentioned robots and drones. Is that realistic right now?
It might sound like something out of a movie, but it's closer than you might think. We're already seeing AI-powered drones and robots being used in disaster areas.
Wow, really? So what are they doing out there, like in those situations?
Well, drones, for example. They're super valuable right after a disaster. Let's say an earthquake hits, and you need to assess the damage quickly. Right. And not just that, you need to find survivors and figure out the safest routes for rescue teams. Drones can handle all of that, and often much faster than people on the ground.
It makes sense, especially with all the risks. You wouldn't want to send people in if there's a chance of, like, aftershocks or unstable buildings, right?
Exactly. Plus, some drones have these thermal imaging cameras that can see heat signatures, even through smoke or debris, which is crucial for finding survivors who might be trapped.
That's amazing. So it's like having an eye in the sky that can give you crucial information in those first few hours after a disaster. But what about robots? What's their role in all of this?
Robots are really good at getting into dangerous places where it might be too risky to send humans. Think about like a chemical spill, a nuclear accident, or even a big fire where a building might collapse.
So we could send robots into those situations to figure out what's going on, gather information, maybe even help with cleanup, all without putting human lives in danger.
Exactly. And get this, some robots are even being designed to do complex stuff, like rescuing trapped survivors and bringing medical supplies. They can squeeze into tight spaces, lift heavy objects, even talk to people who need help.
It's like something you'd see in a sci-fi film. It seems like AI is becoming a crucial part of how we respond to crises.
It definitely is. And it's important to remember this isn't about replacing human first responders. It's about giving them more tools, helping them do their jobs better, faster, and most importantly, more safely.
That's a really good point. It's all about humans and AI working together, each playing to their strengths. But even with all the good it can do, I can't help but think about the ethical side of things. I mean, these are machines making life or death decisions, right?
Right, and that's something that researchers, policymakers, and all these tech companies are really thinking about.
It's more than just building impressive technology. It's about making sure it's used responsibly in a way that benefits everyone, right?
Absolutely. We need to have open and honest conversations about the potential risks and benefits of AI. We have to make sure these technologies are developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of the article, I noticed they also talked about how AI is changing how we think about crisis management as a whole. It's not just about reacting to emergencies anymore, it's about trying to stop them from happening in the first place.
That's a key point. We're shifting from reacting after the fact to being proactive, trying to prevent crises. Instead of just waiting for something to happen, we're using AI to spot those potential threats early on and take steps to stop them from escalating.
So it's about looking ahead, anticipating problems before they even arise.
Exactly. Imagine if we could use AI to, let's say, predict and prevent car accidents. We could analyze traffic camera feeds, weather reports, even how people are driving in real time.
That would be incredible.
Right.
Or what if we could use it to spot potential problems with our infrastructure before they cause massive disruptions?
Precisely. The possibilities are endless. We're talking about AI helping us create a safer, more resilient world, not just by responding better to crises, but by preventing a lot of them from happening in the first place.
That's a powerful vision. But it also makes you wonder, if AI gets so good at predicting and preventing crises, what happens to our sense of responsibility? Do we become too reliant on technology to keep us safe and kind of let our guard down?
That's a great question and something we need to consider carefully. As AI takes on a bigger role in crisis management, it's crucial that we don't forget the human element.
What do you mean by that?
Well, even with the best tech, things can still go wrong. AI can make mistakes, it can be hacked or biased, and it can't always predict how people will act.
So it's not as simple as just handing over the reins to machines and hoping for the best.
Definitely not. We need to find a balance. We need to use the strengths of AI while still using human judgment, critical thinking, and our capacity for empathy and compassion.
It sounds like we're entering uncharted territory, and we need to be both excited and cautious as we move forward. What do you think?
I completely agree. We're at a turning point where we're moving from a world where we mostly reacted to crises after they happen to one where we can see them coming and even prevent them. It's a fundamental change, and
Yeah.
we need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
It's a huge shift, and I think it makes you think about how we prepare ourselves if we're starting to rely more on AI to, keep us safe.
It's like if you have a really good security system in your house, you might not be so worried about double checking if the doors are locked, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of human nature to maybe get a little complacent when you feel like you've got a safety net.
That makes sense. So how do we make sure we're using AI to its full potential, but not losing that sense of individual responsibility?
I think it starts with awareness. We need to understand what AI can and cannot do. It's not a magic solution for everything, and we can't become too reliant on it.
We've got to remember the human element. We still need to be engaged and ready to act, even with AI helping us out.
Absolutely. We should be investing in things like educating people about AI, training them how to use it effectively, and most importantly, making sure everyone knows how to respond if a crisis does happen.
Because even if we can predict storms and send robots into disaster zones, there will always be situations where we need human courage and compassion.
Exactly. There will always be a need for people who can think on their feet, adapt to new situations, and provide comfort and support when things get tough.
So really, integrating AI into crisis management isn't about replacing humans, it's about creating a partnership that uses the strengths of both.
Exactly. A world where technology helps us anticipate and reduce risk, while human judgment, empathy, and resilience are still at the core of how we respond.
It's been a fascinating deep dive today, and for me, the biggest takeaway is that AI has amazing potential to make the world safer and more resilient, but only if we use it thoughtfully and responsibly.
I totally agree. It's a future we need to build together, being open-minded and committed to using these powerful tools to benefit everyone.
Well said. And on that note, we've come to the end of our deep dive into AI and crisis management. I hope this conversation has given you some things to think about.
I've enjoyed sharing these insights with you.
A huge thank you to you for joining us today and to all of you for listening. Until next time, stay curious.